On today's video, we are taking a look at some potential Julio Jones trade destinations after multiple reports came out on Monday that the Atlanta Falcons are at least listening to trade offers for their superstar wide receiver, which would be one of the bigger trades we've seen gone down in a heavy trade-busy offseason the past 2 years or so. Now, there is one big, super important note that we have to make note of here. Namely, the Falcons cannot trade Julio until after June 1st. Once June 1st hits, the Falcons can spread that dead money cap hit left over by trading away Julio over 2 years. If they do it before June 1st, there is an extra $17 million added onto their 2021 cap. They're not going to do that. So any potential trade would have to come after June 1st. At that point, the Falcons receive about $20 million over 2 years, most of it coming in the 2021 season. And if the Falcons are going to move Julio, there's going to be interest because his salary, his cap hit, it's not that bad. If traded, this is what it would look like for whatever team acquires him. A little over $15 million and then a little over $11.5 the next 2 years. Julio Jones, when healthy, is one of the best receivers in the NFL. Now, there are a couple big buts as well in terms of, okay, just how expensive would he be? A, he's going to want a new contract. Like, he's going to want to get paid again and restructure that deal and get more guaranteed money at minimum on there. He's also battled injuries. He's older. And there's also, of course, this part. Do the Falcons really want to trade away Julio Jones if their plan, as has been intimated by extending and restructuring Matt Ryan's contract, is to still win games right now? Well, Julio Jones helps them do that. They trade away Julio, immediately wide receiver becomes one of their biggest needs. Calvin Ridley's a good football player. I like Russell Gage as well, but those are not like an ideal 1-2 punch. You're still looking for another impact playmaker at that point. So because of that, I'm still not 100% sold that the Falcons will actually trade away Julio, although I've been wrong before. Looking at you, Odell Beckham Jr. So will the Falcons actually do it? This is the pinned comment on today's video. So if you get the ad break here on YouTube, scroll on down and get your votes in. Type Y for yes or type in N for no. Now let's break down 6 different teams who actually do make sense for Julio Jones after the NFL draft. Knowing, of course, if they take a receiver, they're no longer there, and we'll do an updated version. Let's begin with the New England Patriots, who, wow, how often do we say the Patriots need a receiver? We've said that for years, right? And they're still in the market for an impact one, even after their free agency spending spree. Because, let's be honest here, the Nelson Aguilar and Kendrick Bourne and trending towards being a bust, N'Keal Harry and Jacoby Myers actually strike fear into opposing defenses? I certainly don't think so whatsoever. So depending on what the Patriots do with their draft picks, I think Julio makes a lot of sense. And they still have plenty of money available if they want to bring on Julio Jones and even extend him and give him a new fat contract, just like DeAndre Hopkins got from the Arizona Cardinals as well. Of course, we'll see what the Patriots and the rest of the NFL teams do during this year's NFL draft. Hit that big red button and subscribe if you have not already at youtube.com/chatsportstv. We'll get things going before round 1 kicks off, before 7 p.m. Eastern time. Tune in and don't miss a single pick here at Chat Sports. Let's dive into another team that makes sense as a need at wide receiver. The Baltimore Ravens, who do have 2 first-round picks, and maybe they spend one on a receiver. But much like the Patriots, Baltimore does not have a legit number 1 guy. Sammy Watkins is a former high-round pick, or former high first-round pick, but hasn't been consistent by any stretch of the imagination. Marquise Brown is fast, but hasn't really developed into being a legitimate number 1 receiver. Devin Duvernay, Miles Boykin, James Prochet, those guys don't move the needle really at all. So in the event the Ravens say draft a edge rusher in round 1 and a new right tackle, maybe they could revisit and go explore a Julio Jones trade. One big potential problem, Lamar Jackson's due a big fat contract. Not sure they're going to have enough money or want to have enough money to pay Julio Jones at his age as well. So make your predictions. There's still some few teams we got to get to here. But where do you think Julio Jones will play in 2021? Is it with the Falcons? Is it one of the two teams we just mentioned? Or is it somebody else altogether? Go down to the comments and let your voice be heard. Let's talk Tennessee Titans now as a fit for Julio Jones. Corey Davis, he's gone in free agency. They have a number one in A.J. Brown, and they are light on cap space. But I look at this depth chart, and as bad as the Patriots and Ravens were, I think this one might be worse. A.J. Brown, Josh Reynolds is probably more of a number 3, by the way. So you have A.J. Brown, you lose Corey Davis, Cameron Batson, Davis, Cody Hollister, Marcus Johnson, Chester Rogers is currently on that team. Like, this is a bad unit at wide receiver. So if the Titans say, try again on a new right tackle in round 1, or they take maybe a cornerback or something along those lines in the NFL draft, looking at a Julio Jones trade does make some sense. Money's not the most freely available in Tennessee, but they could absolutely find a way to make it work. Now, I do wonder exactly what the Julio Jones trade value is. Peter King had mentioned maybe a second-round pick. Albert Breer said a first-rounder. So what do you guys think? How many first-round picks is Julio Jones worth? Is he worth the Jalen Ramsey, Jamal Adams, multiple first-round picks? Stephon Diggs, first-round pick and change? Or is Bill O'Brien back in charge of the Falcons? Let me know what you guys think in the comments section. The team I would love to see go get Julio Jones is the Green Bay Packers. Imagine Devontae Adams, Julio Jones, and Aaron Rodgers here. That is a awesome idea. It's fun. It's a Super Bowl contender, if not favorite, blah, blah, blah. There are some buts here. Namely, Green Bay, a little bit light on cap space. They seem to not want to spend either money or draft capital on another wide receiver to pair with Devontae Adams. It's always kind of, late day 2, early day 3 guys and go, oh, why isn't it working? I don't know. And there's this part too. To afford Julio, they would probably have to restructure either Devontae Adams or extend him, or do the same with Aaron Rodgers. And they haven't done that. They keep saying, oh, no, we love Aaron. He's our guy. The restructuring of free money this year is very easy. The Packers haven't done that. Would they do it for Julio? I hope so, but maybe they would not. So what do you guys think about this question then? Who is the best fit out there for Julio Jones? Is it Green Bay? Is it still just in Atlanta? Somebody else altogether? Get your votes in for me right now. The Las Vegas Raiders next up here because, A, they were mentioned by Peter King, and there's some good logic there. Remember, John Gruden desperately wanted that number 1 receiver. He got Antonio Brown, and that was a disaster. He took Henry Ruggs in round 1, and it's not going great so far. Money is a little bit tight for the Las Vegas Raiders, but they could make it work for Julio Jones. He can move on from Carl Nassib, makes life easier. And if you can make Henry Ruggs your 2, John Brown kind of like your 4-5 guy, or maybe you bench Hunter Renfrow altogether, there's not a number 1 guy on this team. Maybe Henry Ruggs ends up being that, but there's a lot of number 2, number 3 tertiary options for that Vegas team. You put Julio Jones on there, that's fun if you're Vegas, and I think if you're Derek Carr, you're probably feeling pretty happy as well. One more reminder here, folks. We will be live for the entirety of the 2021 NFL Draft. Not just day 1 or day 2, but also rounds 4 through 7. Unlike some of the other major networks out there, we're going to stick around, and we'll actually break down every single pick and not do boring interviews of the first-round pick that we already know about. No, we'll talk about each pick as it happens live here on Chat Sports. One last team I feel like I had to mention them, right? The San Francisco 49ers. They are always linked to either Julio Jones or Odell Beckham because, they need a receiver, Kyle Shanahan, and I get it. Big problem here. They don't have the draft picks. By moving up from 12 to 3, they gave up some significant draft capital in the future. So if there's a bidding war, if the price, which I think it should, starts with a first-round pick, how are the Niners going to make that work? That's what makes it very difficult from San Francisco's perspective. Sure, Julio Jones and whatever the quarterback is next year for San Francisco and Kyle Shanahan, that's fun. I get it. I don't think it's the most plausible outcome, though, in the end for San Francisco. So I know you guys are going to ask about him in the comments section, so I threw him in. I'd be pretty stunned, though, if that one went down.